What's up, Chatty Patty Gang Squad? What's up, guys? This is your girl, Chat with Kay, and I'm back with another Table Talk Tuesday. This is the first one for 2021. And in just a few minutes, my loved one is going to be calling for real from prison. We're going to interview him on some things, some questions, dig a little bit deep to what it means to be serving time. He is in the Department of Corrections. But before we get into all that, if this is your first time tuning into my channel, there is some things that we must do, and that is watch the video, like the video, comment on the video, share the video, and then please hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss another Table Talk Tuesday, because Chat with K gonna come with the real tea on Table Talk Tuesdays. All right, and then hit that notification bell so you can be notified each and every time I upload another video, and then you can be all up in what I got going on Table Talk Tuesday. And I told you guys that I will be. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Hello, this is a prepaid call from
Jackson.
an inmate at the Indiana Department of Corrections, Pendleton Correctional Facility. To accept this call, press 0. Your current balance is $38.82.
Okay.
This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using GTL.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm okay. I am recording, so you can, if you have to, huh?
I know the rules.
I know you're recording. So, but what I was going to ask you is, can you speak up a little bit so I can make sure I got your voice?
I got you. That better?
That's perfect. All right, guys. As you can see, Jensen is on the phone. I will say in this video, both of us will be very transparent with the answers that, for the questions that I ask and the answers that he give. All right. But one thing I want to say before we get started, there is an app. I'm well aware. There's an app that does fake jail calls. This is not the case. This is Jansen, who is currently incarcerated for real. So just know that this is not a game, all right? He is actually incarcerated. So we are going to, now that I got that out the way, let's just go on into the conversation. First of all, I want to introduce you guys who know me. I've spoke about Jansen on my channel quite a bit, and he is the one that I told you I was feeling a little worried about when he got diagnosed with the ugly bug. But he is well, he is okay, and he is fine. So without any further ado, Chatty Baddies, this is Jansen. Jansen, say hello to the Chatty Baddy Gang Squad.
Hello, baby. How y'all doing?
You so low. You like, hello, people. Why you talking so low?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better.
Okay.
That's much better. All right. As we can see by the title, yes, we are doing a jail call today. So, Jansen, first of all, I want to ask the question to this. I want you to ask you this question. When it comes to doing time in any Department of Correction, again, you are in Indiana, can you give us a description what it's really like to be incarcerated?
Being real simple with it, everything that you ever learned in life that was normal becomes abnormal in here, and everything that you was ever taught to be abnormal in life is actually normal in here. It's insanity. Think of every movie that you've seen with people in insane asylums, people that you've seen with any kind of mental deficiencies. Now put that all in a confined space and let it play out every day, all day. That's what prison is actually like. And you will go crazy in here if you're not very careful.
Okay, can you explain to us how you've been able to stay positive while you've been during the time that you have been incarcerated?
In honesty, it's a 50-50 battle. There are times where you'll feel like the world is there for you to do what you want want to do, and there's other times where I feel like the world is on your shoulders. I try to find something to do every day, whether it's reading or I self-educate, whether it's a program that I can get into. I find things to research that matter to me and my family. That's what I do.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Can you give us a view of what it's like, how you guys are actually being treated, whether it's fairly or whether it's unfairly as a inmate being in the system?
All right. Now, what I'm getting ready to say, it's going to upset a lot of thought processes, but it's real.
Mm-hmm.
The people who come to work in prison, they fit one or two molds. This is either a job for them to do, it has benefits, it has security. They come to work, they go home. They put no more into this than the fact that it is a job for them to do. And then the other half is, you have people that come into this environment. These were the ones that got bullied growing up. These were the ones to where you remind them of an ex. You remind them of a friend that wasn't their friend. And they come in here every day with an attitude as if this is their opportunity to get their lick back on whoever upset them in their life. And that's the reality of this. Some people come in here simply because they have an entitlement disposition of, you're lower than me, I have control, and I get to do you what I want to do to you.
Okay, now let me ask you another question. We're just gonna go through these questions, guys, because Jansen can elaborate real heavy on questions. So I just told him just follow my lead. The next question I want to ask you, and I know how you're gonna go with this, but can you explain to the audience how difficult this can be by you being incarcerated, and how it has been hard for us as me and your mom to deal with?
Well, it gets weird because when you have somebody that you love and you want to be there with them and you can't, you have to actually remind yourself that there are some things that you have no control over, and all you can do is talk them through it. I would say that's the hardest part of this, because there's times, like especially with her medical stuff, I can't be there. I can't go to the hospital. I have to ask her questions instead of asking the doctor's questions. And I mean, that's pretty much the hardest part. It's a connection, but it's a disconnect at the same time.
And I want to tell you, guys, I'm going to tell you something. I used to be really, really shy, and still is in some aspect. But when it came to me speaking and taking up for myself, Jansen is the one that got me to the point where I can turn into the pop-off queen, because I used to wouldn't be like that. But he kept telling me, you have to be able to stand up for yourself and take care of yourself. So when can you kind of explain to them a little bit how I used to be before the Khadijah part of me arrived? You guys haven't seen that side of me too much, but Jansen was just like, no, you can't go through life being, I don't know if he want to use the word soft or whatever word he want to use, but kind of elaborate on that, if you will.
All right. I look at it like this here, and I used to always tell her this here. If I'm not going to kick you, don't let nobody else kick you. And what that means, real simple, is this here. If I'm not cussing you out, calling you out your name, fussing at you about crazy stuff, and you're not going to take that from me, don't take it from nobody else. People get the misunderstanding that you're supposed to allow other people to talk crazy to you, upset you, and basically infringe on your peace of mind. And you ain't got to. It's okay to tell people, get away from me, I don't like you. It's okay to tell people, look, this ain't gonna work. Let us reevaluate this relationship, and you go left, I go right, and we're gonna keep the peace that way. And the issue that I kept having with Carhisha was she would let people talk crazy to her, and she would get mad at me. and it was her fussing at me about what they said, like I was always telling. Tell them this. But I don't want them, tell them this. It's better to have people upset because you hurt their feelings as a response to them hurting your feelings than them getting bolder thinking that it's cool to keep doing this. And now she's hard to deal with.
He's talking about, it's his fault. It really is. But I'm going to ask you this. You and I had a conversation, I don't know if it was yesterday or 2 days ago, or whenever it was. We had a conversation, and I was speaking about how inmates have to go when they go to face the parole board, and Jensen will be having that opportunity one day. So when I said, I hear them say, I changed before you, I come before you as corrected, like, and he was just like, no, rehabilitated is the word, because the people always say that they rehabilitated and they can go home and all that. And Jensen was like, no, there's not, the word is not rehabilitated. So that's why I said, okay, now this is going to be a subject for Table Talk Tuesday. So he is going to explain to you what he means by being rehabilitated and growth. Because I was just like, well, let me say this. I'd say the prime example. If I go out and I keep writing hot checks or whatever the case may be, or whatever, to just keep doing it, and then I end up having to go do some time. And so if I get out, and for them to let me out, I have to say, hey, I'm rehabilitated. He's like, no, you're not rehabilitated. And I'm like, what's the difference? So I'm going to let him kind of elaborate on that a little bit. So to you guys, because that's really the Table Talk Tuesday discussion for this one. So he can explain his thought process on that, because I found it very interesting. All right, James.
Okay. That conversation was actually talking about people growing up and changing. And what I actually said was, people don't change. And she disagreed with me, so I had to explain it.
Yes. That's okay.
People get to the point, especially going before judges and prosecutors when they're going back for modifications. You always see these situations on TV where somebody is killed, somebody catches a case or whatever. And the first thing that they say, if the victim is, well, this person did X, Y, and Z, and then they changed and they made a turn for the better in their life. But if it's the person that is the victimizer, they say, well, he never changed it, he didn't do this, and they list this whole laundry list of things that they did wrong. And my personal understanding to this is this here. People don't change. We evolve and we mature. And the reason why I say that is this here, though. You can't take your brain out your body and erase all the memories in it. So you still have the memories of your past. Your skin still remembers the experiences that it's endured. As you grow up through life, you get to reevaluating what you have chose to do. You reevaluate how you see things as your perspective goes and matures. You don't change, because to change means that it is something different. You are the same person that you were 20 years ago, 25 years, 5 years ago for that matter. The difference is your perspective has evolved. You see things from the lens of, is this worth it, versus instant gratification. You get a handful of money when you're young, you might go blow $4,000-$5,000 buying little trinkets and things that you want to see on yourself with your friends. You just want to flash. Time evolves. You got that same money. You're not gonna go blow it because your perspective has evolved. It has changed. Your focus has changed, and you see this money now as, what do I need versus what do I want? And you can apply that to anything. If you deal with criminals, people are always talking about, well, he's a changed man. He's not a changed man. Whether he killed, whether he sold drugs, whether he did whatever, robbery at 18, 19 years old. Here you are 20 years later, or whatever it may be. That man has not changed, but his value system has. The things that he was willing to do at 18, 19 years old, it may have been frivolous. It may have been worthless. He may have undervalued so many things, but here we are 20 years later, the cost is too high. So that has matured. That has progressed. But don't nobody change. We stay the same. We just look at things differently. We make different choices, or better choices, or I hope we do anyway.
And that's the reason, and that's what I wanted him to say, and kind of explain that from his aspect. And after he and I got to talking about it, and I was like, okay, I can relate to what he is saying at that moment, because I was like, okay, I can't argue with that, because it clearly makes it makes a lot of sense of how he explained it and how he perceived that. And also, I want to say this. I want to ask you another question. And the question that I have asked to say is this: when people have have done things in their lives that have landed them in prison, and do you feel that even to the baddest of the baddest, do you feel that when they generally express remorse, do you feel as though that people should be forgiven, even if the forgiveness is I'll say hard for the victims or the family members of victims, do you feel as though, you understand what I'm trying to ask you?
Let me explain this to you.
Okay.
Remorse is a word that everybody talks about. Well, you didn't show enough remorse. When you go to court, when they're sentencing you, well, you didn't show any remorse. Years later, well, you haven't shown enough remorse. From my personal experience, I've been in prison since I was 19 years old. I just turned 40 in October.
And how many years is that?
That's 21 years.
21 years, okay. As I was going to ask you, could I tell them that, but you already did. So, okay, go ahead.
Now, this is the thing that people don't understand. People always talk about, well, what is your thought process? How do you feel about the things that put you in prison? I cannot show any level of remorse that anybody will understand. If I try to, they're going to say I'm Denzel. I need an Oscar for the performance.
Oh.
But this is what remorse really looks like. Nobody sees me up at 2 o'clock in the morning just in thought. Nobody sees a person watching TV and they see family or they see opportunities from their life that they have wasted because they're in prison and a single tear falls down their eye. Nobody sees sitting there and you listening to a song that puts you in a memory and all you can do is shake your head, or you looking out a window and you see something and it brings a memory to you of an opportunity wasted, a potential wasted, of love missed, and things of this nature. Nobody can see that. That is what remorse is. When you see people who've done a significant amount of time in prison, you also see the same vision when you see people who've done a significant amount of time in military or coming from third world countries. They get this glazed look in their eyes to where it's like you see so much pain, so much understanding at the exact same time. That is what remorse is. It's the heartfelt pain from the loss that they've experienced. It's the heartfelt pain from the loss that they've caused others to experience. Mm-hmm. It's the understanding that you can't ever go back and change a single day of this. I have a 23-year-old son. Remorse is my son has not been in my arms the entirety of his life. I've never held my son past on a visit. That is remorse. I've lost family over the years that I genuinely love, that I couldn't even attend their funeral to give their final eulogy with them. That is remorse. The fact that I was accepted to go to culinary art school at 19, but I didn't get a chance to go because I came to prison. Mm-hmm. That is a level of remorse. But what remorse really is the understanding of the losses that you've had in your life. It's the understanding of the opportunities that you've missed. That's what remorse is. And to have somebody ask you to demonstrate remorse, it's an impossibility. Because what my pain is and what your pain is ain't the same thing. And the way you show yours and the way I show mine will not be the same thing.
And well, let me ask you this: is it fair to say that when people say to someone that, oh, you showed no remorse, you showed no this, you didn't show no this, but that does not mean that it's not there, though? Is that fair to say?
That's very fair to say.
Okay.
Because it's like if I start doing a lot of crying, okay, people say I'm performing. If I don't do any crying and I keep a stone face, people say that I'm a hardened criminal. It's a lose-lose situation.
Well, for me, when it comes to Jansen, I have seen the remorse. I have heard the remorse that he has for stuff that have gotten him where he is today. And when I say this, even though you don't see it, does not mean that it's not there, because that's misleading, because I know that it is. And it's one thing about this man right here. I love him unconditionally. Let's be clear of that. So please don't come from him in the comment section, okay? Because you will see Khadijah. You truly will. Because that's right here. I would never leave this man's side. Never in my life will I ever, and I won't. And I have that kind of love for him, you know. And it for me, it is hard. You know, I've been going down there and visiting Jansen for quite some time now. But at the same time, due to the fact that this whole Rona has came around, it even dampened us even having to see each other. But I'm still there for him and forever will be. And again, I will say this to why Jansen's on this phone. When it comes to having loved ones incarcerated, that does not mean that we or better than a person that's incarcerated, because that's not true. Just because I may not be sitting in prison don't mean that I've never done anything in my life that I'm not proud of. We all have, okay? We all have done things in our lives that we do that we wish we could take back at some point. Okay, some people have made mistakes in their life that, as such as Jansen, that has landed him where he is today. I've done things in my life that made mistakes in my life. Unfortunately, I didn't end up in prison. I'm just saying that. But we all have done things in our lives that we wish we could take back. And I will say this, and it's without this video being too longer. When it comes to life in prison, Jansen, if you would say to any of the younger generations, what advice would you give them while we get ready to end this video? What advice would you give the younger generation, where it's teenage girls or teenage boys or young adults? What advice would you give them as far as trying to avoid to end up doing a lot of years in prison, such as yourself?
Make sure it's worth it. I mean, the sad truth is, make sure it's worth it. I can't tell nobody how to live their life. Mm-hmm. And you have a lot of people that do things that are considered illegal because that's the way that they survive. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to put your life in a balance, make sure what you get is worth it. That's the only thing I can really tell you. I know so many people that's in here for $5. They killed somebody for $5.
That's crazy.
They robbed a plate for $200 and they're doing 150 years for a $200 robbery. Mm-mm. I know people that have done 15, 20 years in prison for $30 worth of cocaine. So whatever it is that you choose to do, make sure that the value is equal. If you're going to put your life on the line, make sure it's life changing. Mm-hmm. I don't condone it, but I can't tell nobody how to feed themselves if I don't have a position to feed them myself.
I was just getting ready to say that, because what I was getting ready to say, even though he said it the way that he said it, but I actually understand what he's saying, because to me, taking a life is never warranted for anyone to do. That's just my aspect on it. It really not, because for me to take a life we don't have the right to take another person's life. We all know that. So and also, I put it like this. What I'm trying to say is for the young kids in this generation, try your best, and young adults, try your best to make something of your life, okay? So you don't end up in a situation like Jansen is. Make sure that the people that you have around you are people that are not going to drag you down, because you can end up like Jansen, okay? When I say for the teenagers and the younger generation, or whatever the case may be, we all have to value our own lives. Okay. So when I say that, it means that when it comes to how you move in life, make sure you're moving in the right direction. Make sure that you are doing everything you can to be able to take care of yourself, where you won't have to go and say selling drugs is an option. We don't want that to happen.
Baby,
what?
Let me say this real quick.
Okay.
We can get short on time on this. For the older people, those who have established themselves, those who feel like they've made their mistakes and they've got through their mistakes, get off your high horse. Don't look down on them younger ones. Because you have to remember this here. You made the same mistakes, you just didn't get caught. And if you take what you've been through already in your life, and you see yourself in these people, you see some of your mistakes in them, don't talk to them, don't talk at them, show them. Because the thing about this generation right here, they respect one thing and one thing only, and that's being authentic. If they see that you 100% fake, ain't nothing you gonna say to them. You can't live one life and then try to tell them about another life, because they gonna look at you like you a clown.
True.
So when you see younger people going through the stuff that they going through, don't judge them. Ask yourself, what has put them in this situation where they gotta go through this? And then ask yourself the hardest question: can you and are you willing to actually help them? Help ain't throwing no money at something. Help is actually being a real mentor. Help is at 2 o'clock in the morning when they call you crying because their life is coming unraveled. you willing to stop whatever it is you're doing, even if it's in the best of dream or whatever else you involved in, and help them in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
If you ain't willing to do that, keep your mouth closed. Because most people going through stuff, don't nobody really know how deep it is.
Mm-hmm. And see, me, I'll be a little bit more softer with my deliverance. As you can see, Jansen's not. He's very hardcore with how he expressed himself. And I had to get used to that. Honestly, I did. But I will say this as well. He knows that I have the teen ministry. So this is one reason why I wanted him to kind of talk about life in prison and kind of talk about, the mindset. For me, I try to still say that in this ministry that I'm dealing with these kids, we do make an impact in their lives. Well, we try to as much as possible, me and Mr. Man. And so with that being said, we try. I be up a lot of hours when these kids need help. They call me, I'm there. These kids say, hey, we're hungry. I give them my last. I've always done that and probably will continue to do so. So what I'm saying too is that we have to be, the older generation has to be positive role models for kids, because we can be a changing person for them in their lives, so they will not end up in a situation that Jansen is in. You heard him. He's been in prison 21 years. Okay. And we're not going to go into why he's there as long as he has been, but let's clearly say this. I hate the fact that he's in there. I truly do. I wish that he was out here with me. I truly am. But for this video, it's educational purposes only. Okay. And let's just try to be a change for the next generation. It's a new year. It's 2021. So if you know someone that may be headed in the wrong direction, let's reach out to try to steer them in the right direction. Okay, because that's what Voice of the Future does. These kids are our voices of the future. Let's just make sure their voices are heard. So when they come to me or to Mr. Man, we try to be there for them as the best way we know how, is to show them the ugly truth. Even hearing this conversation from Jansen could help them, because being in prison is not what you want to do. All right. Being surrounding yourself with friends is the easiest way I can say this on this video. You need to make sure that your circle is a positive circle. And I'm sure you can read between the lines of what I'm trying to say in this video. Okay. Because even having those type of friends you can end up where Jansen is at. Okay. So I'm going to end this right here. I'm going to stop this video, but I'm going to continue to talk to Jansen on the phone, because these phone calls is like, almost $10. And I'm going to get my coins worth. But I like to say, I say this to say that at the end of the day, guys, try to be there for someone in a positive way. Try to reach out and show positive. Be there for someone. Okay. Be a role model. All right. Because if you see someone headed in the direction, whether it is drug abuse, will end them up here because they're trying to feed their addiction. It's a lot of reasons that people do things that land them in prison. Okay. So, but I still say this, a person that is in prison is no better than you and I. Okay. You and I, because we are all equal in his eyes. All right. So without any further ado, I'm going to say this, my closing spiel. Love God, love yourself, and love others. That's the key word. Love others. Stay ready. So now get ready. This is Chat with Kay, and I'll see you next week on the next episode of Table Talk Tuesday for 2021. Bye-bye.